Hello and welcome to the Into the Abyss Quick Start Guide. This game was created by Quinn Hopwood, Daniel Mannion, Chris Dono, and myself, Benjamin Stone. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over the components. So we have the game board, we have 3 stacks of location tiles, should add up to 64 cards. We have the 6 different colored submarine player pieces. We have 18 of these sunken submarine cards. There should be 1 or 6 of each, or there should be 3 of each color, 18 in total, and 1 of each depth. Next we have the health, sanity, and victory point trackers. So the red is your health tracker, the black is the sanity tracker, and the gold is the victory point tracker. And lastly, we have 3 different decks for discovery cards, one for depth 1, depth 2, and depth 3, as well as some tokens that we will talk about later, like the fishing and fished out tokens. Alright, so the objective of the game is to collect as many victory points as you can, and you do this by drawing discovery cards. So for example, I'm just going to take one of these discovery cards. This is the old boot. The purple number in the top right represents the number of victory points this card is worth. So at the end of the game, you will count up all of the points that you have, and there will be other abilities. If you manage to get both of the old boots, this is worth 6 points instead of just 1. But we will get back to that later. But for now, we're going to go and look at the game setup. So the first thing you have to do is, if these tiles are not separated based on the depth, see how there's depth 1, depth 2, and depth 3, you need to separate them out. And the second thing you do is shuffle these, preferably face down. You do not want to see what is on any of the cards or on the tiles initially. And then you're going to place one on each spot on the board. So on depth 1, we're going to place a bunch of them on depth 1. On depth 2, we're going to do the same. And on depth 3, we're going to do the same. I will come back when this is over. Alright, now that this is completed, the only last part of the setup is making sure that we have all of these in the right spots. So make sure the depth 1 cards are all together and shuffled, same with depth 2 and depth 3. So now we're going to move on to playing the game. So at the start, each player takes one of their pieces. Okay, so each of the players are going to take a submarine piece and put it on any starting location that they would like. So we're gonna put all 6 on here. So then the players choose whoever wants to go first. Typically in our sessions we had whoever was the oldest player went first. So I'm just going to start with the purple player here. So when it's your turn, you have 2 things you can do. The first thing you can do is you can move. So I'm going to move to this tile. When you move to a tile that's face down, you flip it face up and you read what's on the tile here. So this card says, discover you may move again this turn. So whenever you flip up a tile, there are 2 blocks of text. The discovery text you read and apply the second that the tile is flipped face up. So this one says you may move again this turn. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to move again. So this time it says recover 2 sanity. And if you flip up a board or a piece, or rather the tile, I mean, it would end your turn. So the only exception was made for this because it says you may move again. typically when there are conflicting rules, look at what the text on each of the cards or the tiles say specifically. So this discovery block of text, it says recover 2 sanity, so I'm going to go over to the sanity trackers. One thing I failed to mention during the setup is that you set these to 10, and these cannot go higher than 10. So I would recover 2. If I was at 8, I would recover up to 10, but I cannot recover past 10. That would be the end of my turn. So I'm going to move on to the blue piece. Blue piece is going to move here onto this one. Wow, it's the same card. So this, we're going to move again because the discovery says move again this turn. And you can only move to a tile that is connected from these black lines. So now this says, lose 2 sanity, you may draw a discovery card from the depth 2 pile. So there are these 3 piles. This would just say draw a card from here. Whenever you draw a card from a deck, you show it to all the players. Sometimes there are discovery effects on these cards. This one is just a passive ability that at any point you can discard it to regain 3 HP if you're in a pinch. The last thing is that there is this skull icon on the discovery cards. This is the amount of fear that the card has. You lose that much sanity whenever you draw a card. So this one is 0, but there are some later on that when you draw this one you lose 2, and discovery you lose 2 health. So since I drew this card, I would put it in my hold. So this would basically just in my hand, right? The cards are hidden after you reveal them or after you draw them from the other players, but you do need to show them initially. I could play out all these other turns, but I'm going to show what you can do on a turn afterwards. So on your second turn, this purple piece, so you can choose to move to another tile, or so it's actually, so we'll just say you can move, right? If you move to a tile that's already face up, what you can do is draw a card from the depth 1 deck, because we're at depth 1. You can just take your action on the turn to draw a card from the depth 1. Alright, so I'll just draw that, show it to the players. It's 0 fear, so I don't lose any sanity, and we're just going to put that there. And whenever you use your turn to draw, you take a fishing token and throw it on the tile. So there's these number indicated on the tile. That's the number of times you're allowed to fish or draw from one of the decks on that particular tile. So this one says 2. So on my next turn, if I were to draw again on this tile, it would be 2. And since there's 2 on here, you can't draw anymore. You can put one of these on here if you want. The last thing that I have not mentioned would be the persistent effect. So when you end your turn, a lot of these effects activate under persistent. So say you end your turn on this tile, you would recover 1 sanity. So this is a good tile that if you want, there's 4 opportunities to fish on. If you land on this tile, you might want to stay here for a second to recover sanity and draw more cards. So this would just be on the tile. So on your turn, when you move back up to the surface, this is when you deposit your discovery cards. So you take all of the cards that you had in your hand, so this guy, you place it face up, and this is considered banked, this card is, so no other players can interact with it, and you get the 1 point that this card is worth. The goal of the game is to get to 50 points. So the whole concept is you need to dive down deeper into the depths, try to get as high value cards from these decks. Obviously the depth 2 and depth 3 cards are worth more, but they also have a heftier price to wield them. one final thing about the game is if, say, you lose all of your sanity or all of your health and you go down to 0, any cards that you have unbanked, right, that are in your hand, you place face down on the board. So let's say we had 2 cards in hand here. We're going to place these face down, and we're going to take the Sunken Submarine card. Let's say we died on depth 1. We're going to put the depth 1 card into the depth 1 deck and shuffle the deck. Now, any player who randomly draws the Sunken Submarine card gets to add all of the cards hidden here to their hold. So it's, if you lose all your stuff, there's a chance that someone can recover it. So don't be too greedy on your trips down to the surface or trips down to the depths. Make sure that you come back up frequently to drop off your cards, so that your cards, you accumulate points. You need to get to 50 victory points to win the game. And I believe that's everything that you need to start playing this game. So thank you for watching.